There's a bit of sprinkling of footy news around the place yesterday. I was drawn to Harley Reid's appearance. He did the rounds yesterday because he was at Scarborough for Revo Fitness. And we were told, Kane, that, Harley spent plenty of time in the Revo gyms during the break. So we get it. We know how it works. But he did declare that he'd learnt his lessons from the mistakes he made at the end of his first year in the AFL and has vowed to enter day one of pre-season training on Monday significantly fitter than 12 months ago. And we'd hope so because he battled badly last summer and suffered several injuries as a result. Shall we hear the audio?
I thought that's what you were going to do, and then I was going to have my thoughts on it. So let's firstly have a listen to Harley.
Hang on. Before we get to the audio, because it's different audio. The audio's on him re-signing. But he said that he didn't understand the expectations of players last year. Didn't train hard enough during his break, and he said he's going to make up for that this year, Kane.
Well, you and I were on air together at the time when I said he has got the second-year blues written all over him. And you saw the images of the way that he presented to training, and he clearly wasn't fit. He was clearly out of shape. And it's, people get a bit sensitive now when you call people out of shape, but they're elite athletes. And if they present out of shape, I'm more than happy to call it as I see it when your job is to be in shape. And he was clearly going to have a very difficult year. Now, if we've learned anything from what Andrew Russell has shared with us this year, it is that it's too late by day one of pre-season, particularly if you're an inexperienced player that still has a lot of other areas of your game to work on and you're in a poor side where you can't necessarily be carried and fairly or unfairly, like you're already the guy, so there's already that target on your back. And you're not prepared, it was always going to be a horrible season for Harley Reid. And that's exactly the way that it played out. As much as Adam Simpson at the time really disagreed with my thoughts on that, he said he thinks he would know. He was there. He's a good trainer. And he sort of rebuffed my thoughts the way it was going to go. That's the way it was going to go. That was the negative, and it was the most obvious opinion that anyone could have had this time last year or a little bit closer to Christmas that he was going to struggle. I'm glad that he has been able to reflect on that as a young player, because sometimes it takes 6 years for young, talented players to work out what is required. This, to me, says that he's starting to work it out a little bit quicker, not as quick as we would have loved. And, 12 months after his first year, you probably go, okay, it's going to be a bit difficult next year. I'm going to make sure I'm absolutely prepared and ready to go, particularly after the struggles that the Eagles have had. It took him, a little bit longer than that. But at least he's honest, and at least he's reflected and analysed his fault in his struggles this year and has vowed to make it better. Now, they're words, and we'll see how that plays out over the pre-season. It is up to him how good he wants to be. I've always said the ceiling is Dustin Martin, the floor is Jake Stringer, and it will be up to him how close he gets to the ceiling or if he is comfortable with the floor at Jake Stringer, which will still be a good, effective AFL footballer. Don't worry, he'll still play 200, 250 games and have some big moments in big games, but he's not going to be an all-time great unless he puts the work in. I don't care how talented you are, but for me, I'm just glad that he's starting to reflect on that and realise what's required to be a great player at this level.
Yeah, and maybe history will say the penny dropped quicker than it does for some. He did say that that he was looking to get, he said he did get a good month in before training actually starts on Monday over there at the Eagles. So it did look as simple as he just put his feet up for the entirety of the off-season. School's back, we'll get training now sort of thing. I mean, you just can't. It's coming back to Jack Russell, you just can't stop now, can you? Or if you do, it's got to be 1 week, 2 weeks max, and then you've really got to be doing your own stuff, don't you, during the break, or you get left behind.
Yeah, the thing that, always shocks me is that you shouldn't be having a day off. You just shouldn't. I don't care. I don't care what you got to give these players. You should every day, every single day of the year, like the best athletes in the world, like I always reference tennis players, they would hit balls every day. They might have Christmas Day off, but there wouldn't be 5 days of the year where they don't hit a tennis ball.
Yeah, I reckon. So I reckon mentally, I can understand having a clean break for a small period of time. Otherwise, isn't there a risk that you tip out the other side?
You can change it up. You can go off-site, you can go
Everyone's different, I
overseas,
suppose.
you've got the means to do that, you can do different elements of training to freshen things up. It might be, and I'm not talking, a 3-hour hitting session in the heat. It might be half an hour. But they wouldn't. I'm telling you, that runners that want to go to the Olympics run every day. I mean, Seth that we speak to that came in last week, he would run every single day of the year. 170 Ks again last week, and mostly twice a day. And these guys do it for the love. They don't do it for the money. So if you're a footballer, and I get so sick of off-season stories about, Adelaide, there's a group of 20 of them that caught up and had a run around together, still a month away from pre-season starting. There's no time off. Like, this is as important as anything. Like, spare me the off-season training vision and stories. Everyone should be, professional athletes training. Well, congratulations. Well done to you. And I know I sound a bit sarcastic with this, but I just can't believe that you wouldn't be doing something every day to improve yourself so that when you do come back, you're ahead of the competition. Now, Harley's not at that level yet, and I don't think he's ever going to be, an obsessive trainer, but he's got to get himself to the level that is good enough that he's not going to have the interruptions that he had this year.
Now, despite his struggles last year, he ended up obviously signing that contract extension at the end of last season, and that is going to keep him at West Coast contractually anyway until the end of 2028. But the piece of audio I wanted to bring you was, as part of this appearance, he did an interview with Channel 9, and he spoke about that contract and what it means for him going forward.
I think when you sit down with your close ones and your circle of trust, I think you try to find the right decision, but I think either way, I think you got to do your time, and for me, I think it just wasn't the right time, and I wanted to stay, and I look forward to seeing what happens.
Not exactly a I'm here for life, is it? In fact, got to do the time, if you're a West Coast supporter, wouldn't fill you with a great deal of optimism that Harley's going to be there. I mean, got to do the time. It sounds like he's in prison.
Go to jail. Yeah.
Got to do your time before you get early release. And not the right time. Like, that sort of phrasing is, that just smacks of a player who's going to get to free agency and see you later.
Yeah, I didn't have as much of an issue with that comment. Like, it's a bit, maybe a bit more honest than what you would have loved to have heard as an Eagles fan. But what do they expect? What do they expect? Like, it's...
What do they expect? Well, they expect that you've signed on until the end of 2028, and that's another 3 seasons away.
So he's going to do his time, and hopefully, and I'm assuming like he probably, and he's not, he's not super polished in the media yet, nor do we expect him to be after 3 years. He's a country lad, like he's pretty honest and authentic, I think, and he's just been honest. Now, you would have loved maybe a line after that to say, I'm here until 2028. I'm going to give it absolutely everything I've got to turn this footy club around. I'm excited about the moves that we've made in the off-season and the direction that we're going in. Like, ideally, he would have said that. But this is on the Eagles a bit as well. Like, this puts it back on the Eagles, and rightly so, to turn their footy club around if they want to keep this guy. And
but he's got a big role. He hasn't lived up to his end of the bargain.
No, but he's a second-year player who, as much as I've been critical of him, has been put into the most difficult situation that I can remember for a talented player, probably since Horn Francis at North Melbourne in his first year, and we know how that played out. He got out. He's getting tagged as a second-year player with no help around him. We've all had our say on that and the way that they haven't been able to support him. So there's some fault of the club as well. They've got to turn this around. They've got to make sure that the footy club is in the right place in 3 years' time. But he's from the Connors stable, isn't he? And their MO is to sort of extend beyond your first 3 years till they give them 6, don't they, before the club's got to show them they're in a good spot.
Off the text, and you can text us anytime on the 40 Wings Temper 0433 98 11 16. I'm an amateur Ironman in my 30s, and while I work full-time on the tools...
Every day. I bet you he trains every day.
I train every day. Surely these professionals are expected to get to work every day. Great topic, guys. I'm an aspiring triathlete. I set myself a goal to do 1,000 sessions a year. I've now done it 2 years in a row. Kane, I'm a 26-year-old house painter. I train every single day, whether it's at the gym or going for a run. Well said. So that's some of the text coming
Exactly.
through.
Like, so what else would they be doing right now? Like, what else, if you're an AFL footballer right now? So say you're overseas, and you can't spare an hour of your day to find a gym. Of course you can. So do something. Get in the gym, work on your core, recover. There's so many things you could be doing. I just never buy those excuses that players need a break. And gee, I get sick of the off-season training stories. Oh, such and such looks in good shape. He's out training with a couple of teammates. Well done, mate. You're a full-time professional athlete. You're training. Like, happy days. Well, anyway, now the ball's in Harley's court, isn't it, Sammy, to make sure that these words aren't just words and that he presents himself in a fashion that can really run out a game fully through the midfield, can impact forward, doesn't get as frustrated. And, he gets the real red cheeks as well. Like, I don't know if it's... I might speak to Andrew Russell about that, but he just looks gassed early. Like, he's blowing and the red cheeks, and his body isn't hardened. But hearing that, I was really pleasantly surprised that he's been able to reflect on the culpability that he had in his lack of performance this year.
Yeah, we want to see more of those highlights more often, don't we? Because they're breathtaking when he delivers them. So we wish him well. Speaking of pre-season training, Jaidyn Stephenson. So he's been granted the train-on opportunity at your old club at Port Adelaide, former Pie, former Kangaroo, and former Ferntree Gully player this year as well. Said he was, lost his passion for the game. That was last October, and has since obviously indicated a desire to resurrect his 122-game career. He last played round 21, 2024 for North Melbourne. It has been reported, we know, he's approached multiple clubs personally about being willing to, get back on a list. And now Port Adelaide is committed to allowing him to train with the club over the pre-season. And then obviously the avenue from here could potentially be a spot via the supplemental selection period as an addition there. Now, this is the coach. Josh Carr spoke yesterday alongside Ben Rutten and Matthew Richardson as part of a Port Adelaide presentation as the reset there. But Josh Carr also spoke to Kimbo on the Rooch on SEN SA, specifically around Jaidyn Stephenson.
We haven't guaranteed Jaidyn any position on our list. He's obviously got to get through the draft, but post-draft we've guaranteed that he can come and train with us over the summer. I think it would be silly not to look at it. I think, he's obviously a talented young player and has kicked something like 40 goals in his first year at Collingwood. Has had, obviously, his struggles, but, we've got some people at the footy club that know him really well, and he's matured. And from my point of view, we make a judgment at the end of pre-season, just as we will for any other player that trains on in the pre-season, and we'll pick the best player that's going to help us as a football club.
So that's new Port coach Josh Carr there on Kimbo on the Rooch. Would they be silly not to look at it? Like, he's going back there referencing stats from 2018. That's going to be 8 years ago.
Yeah.
How far back do they want to go?
Not a phrase I would have used, but not going to be super critical of it. Silly not to look at it. It's low risk. Like, I think to have a player come and train with you, you're not giving up anything. Often, this sounds silly, but often you're looking for numbers on the training track to make sure that you can field two sides to play against each other in the summer if you're doing match play. So he can play that role. I would be staggered if he ended up on Port Adelaide's list. But it's low risk. This is why we get so frustrated by players who seemingly waste their talent. And we've spoken about Jamara Ugle-Hagan all year, and I'm not comparing these two players, but the same premise of the frustration is don't waste your talent. Don't waste your talent right now, because in 2, 3, 10, 20 years you're going to regret it. Clearly, Jaidyn Stephenson is regretting his decision not to maximise the talent that we all saw that was on display through off-field stuff, through... he never worked on his contest. He's a poor contest player, and we're not expecting everyone to be Zach Butters, but when the footy's there at this level, you need to be able to win the ball in the contest. And he was far too meek in the contest, and in the end he got found out. They tried to put him to half-back and used to get a stack of the footy for North Melbourne, but was found out defensively and in the contest. This is why we get so frustrated with those that waste their talent.
Yeah.
Taron Thomas, all different sorts of reasons, but it's one of the great frustrations of footy fans, and because you regret it. And clearly, Jaidyn, ringing clubs, is regretting the fact that he has wasted his talent through his own actions, and now he's regretting it. So, look, low risk. I would be absolutely staggered if Jaidyn Stephenson ends up on Port Adelaide's list off the back of the other, throw at the stumps that they're having, really, with Will Brodie, who's played 3 games in 4 years or something ridiculous. Jacob Weir and Durden. Like as I said the other day on Monday, I think it was. You don't want to be a club that's home to the list clogger, and that appears to be a bit of a strategy that they've taken this year.
One of the bigger stories of the off-season has been Port Adelaide as well, removing club great Warren Tredrea from its board, and we know the reasons behind that. Josh Carr was obviously asked about his premiership teammate, his premiership captain, yesterday.
Nothing changes from what Tredders is to our football club.
He's a class player. He's a legend of the footy club. He's one of the greatest players out that they ever played with, and it's not the greatest in the AFL era. So, look, from that point of view, he hasn't been kicked out of the footy club. He's off the board for obviously the reasons about what's best for our football club.
Apologies for the audio there. The audio they provided, that Josh Carr isn't slurring his words there. The audio on the website is off for whatever reason. So that was the best we could do.
He answered it as well as you could answer a really difficult question. He's got clearly a long relationship with Warren. I think Josh lived with Warren in his early days as a player, and Tredders was a good mentor for him. So tough question to be asked as the coach of the footy club. Thought he answered it really well. The club had no option but to take this action with Warren. I guess the disappointing thing for my part, just sort of following along all the distractions that have centred around Warren for the best part of probably his whole time on the board, or even before when he suggested that Ken Hinkley's tenure was untenable and they won 13 in a row, was there hasn't really been any reflection from Tredders himself, like even really defiant stance after they removed him from the board. And I just feel like there needed to be some reflection of his role in some of this, and some of what has led to this decision and the distraction around the footy club. I think as a club great, as a board member, you're there to do the best thing by your footy club, and you're only there to make the footy club better. When it becomes about you and not about the footy club, and you're a constant distraction and people are talking about it, then the club had no choice to do what they did. And once again, I think they've offered him, from what I've read, a number of times to apologise of what has led to this, and he has refused to do that. So I think that's been the most disappointing thing for me, just watching the way Tredders has gone about it, is there's been no reflection of his role in what has led to this. It's been always someone else's fault. That's been disappointing, I think. But to Josh's point, absolutely legend of the club. They'll welcome him back. He's won 4 best and fairest. He's a Hall of Famer. All those nights are significant, and he'll always be invited to that. And everyone will shake his hand and wish him well and want the best for him. But to use his term, I guess, his role on the board was untenable.
Yeah, and I thought they made that differentiation, the club, really clear and really well in their statement as well, that nothing changes in terms of his legacy at the club as a player and a captain and a premiership captain. Well, our very own Garry Lyon, Kane, as you're well aware, played 226 games for the Demons, 2-time best and fairest, former captain, All-Australian, Team of the Century member, leading goal kicker, and obviously an AFL Hall of Famer. But now, I reckon as one of the biggest honours that he's received, he's the Victorian Chairman of Selectors for the 2026 AAMI AFL Origin match against WA. Garry Lyon, welcome to your own studio. Good to have you.
Yeah, and you're in my chair. Nervous. I'm about to get corned. Bring it on.
Yeah.
Bring it on.
Well, you've got the big V polo on. You are already in the spirit.
And I tell you what, when I take down Western Australia, and then I've got you and your South Australian mates in our sights as well.
You know how he's well into his leavies because his growth is well advanced on yours. Yeah. Looks magnificent. How was New Zealand?
Mine grows much quicker than Kano's. New Zealand was great. Had a week there with the boys. Fantastic.
Plenty of golf?
There was some golf. We've got a serious golf player, we've got a semi-serious, and we've got one who never plays. And the one who never plays found it a long 4 or 5 hour journey. But we had great fun. It was awesome.
Oh, it looked magnificent. Benny put up some photos on his social media, Gaz. I was so jealous of it. Sounded like a brilliant time. Hey, you first represented Victoria in 89, was it?
88,
or 88.
Yeah.
88 again, and that was against West Australia. Like, You've been a big advocate for State of Origin footy to come back. So to have this honour, chairman of selectors, and what's in front of us in February, just your overriding emotions that we've got back to this point?
Yeah, no, I'm thrilled that it is back. I have been, and been banging the desk here for a long period of time, but also dropped off it for a couple of years because I just thought that there wasn't the appetite from the players, and I maintain that if this was to work, it had to be player driven, and so you can't keep belt on the table if you're not getting the feedback the other way. But it would appear that the players have got that appetite again, and we constantly asked them and continue to ask them over the last couple of years, and it's been really strong. So now they get that chance to back it up, and hopefully when it comes around on February, we get two really strong competitive footy sides.
So the following year, I don't want to make this about you guys, but I want to for a bit. You played in a forward line for the Vics with Lockett, Dunstall and Durham. So this is what's exciting for me. Like to think that Sam Darcy and Jeremy Cameron and Curnow could not to the level that you played with, but what was that experience like? And is that something that you're looking forward to piecing this side together of how they're all going to work in unison? Yeah,
that is the great thrill. And in the end, I got booted back to centre half back because there was no room in that team. It was Ablett. We had Dunstall and Lockett at one stage. We had Dermott. It was, and then a bit later on, it was Stewie Lowe and it was Barry Stoneham and Chris Grant. And to walk into those rooms, I maintain, was one of the great thrills of my footy career to this day. And I want that for these players. I want that for, if it's Caleb Sarong coming back from Western Australia to walk in, and if it's Noah Anderson and Rao to come back and walk in and sit alongside our modern day greats. That's what I want them to be able to experience because I know what it meant for me, and it's pure footy. That's what it is. It's as pure as it gets.
There's always skeptics. How do we guard against the kick and giggle? Can we guard against the kick and giggle?
Yeah, well, I understand there's people that don't think it should come back, and I can't see the temper text right now, but I would imagine there's plenty that are going, this is a joke. Well, it's not going to be. We're not going to beg players to come back and play state footy. I mean, they've said they want it. The AFL have thrown considerable weight and resources to it. They'll be well compensated for it. So, it's going to be massive over in Western Australia. It'll be a sellout. So, I'm absolutely confident we're going to get a really strong side. And there will be players, I'm thinking of Will Day, who would be in this side, who's coming back from long-term injury that, we wouldn't put any hope of him playing because he's got to get back and play again. But for others, I mean, can you imagine Sam Darcy, getting on the end of a sizzling pass from maybe Zach Butters? He might be one of those blokes to come back from injury. That's what excites me.
Well, the AFL platform did their best team when this was announced, and I'm just looking at it, and the role that you've got is not easy. They've got in their emergencies list, they've got Max Holmes, Noah Anderson, Nick Larkey, and Libba, and they've got notable others that didn't even get in the squad. Will Ashcroft, he's won a couple of Norm Smith games. This is not going to be easy.
Jeez, imagine Will Ashcroft playing. Oh. Well, it won't be, and I guess there'll be attrition because that's what happens, and I understand that. But there'll be enough talent, as you just pointed out. But what I loved also back in our day was Teddy, EJ Whitten and their selection. They always found room for a little smoky. There was always a little smoky, which gave it a great... All of a sudden, you'd pick the paper up and you'd go, what? Brent Harvey's going to play for Victoria. Who's this Brent Harvey character? Yeah. And then he goes out as a 20... Or actually, I think he turned 21 the night before he played and kicked 5 goals and won the EJ Whitten medal. And away he went. And that is... I'm hoping that Scotty is open to us just being able to just slip a little smoky in there somewhere.
So just on the subject of the coach, I mean, as you would be well aware, the chairman of selectors and a coach, they've got to be thick as thieves. They've got to have a tight, working, and most importantly, I'd reckon, a harmonious relationship. Now, this was you and the coach of the Big V earlier this year.
No late change? No late change, no. But just because you're a smart ass, maybe I'll think about it.
So are you two going to get along? Do you need to break the ice at all, or how do you
Forgot about that, actually.
And will there be a late change?
No, I think it's great. You want the best coaches coaching, You want Chris Scott in there, and I think it adds to the gravitas of the occasion. So no, he'll be great.
So when EJ got told no, which he would have over time, what was his strategy? And will you just twist the arm ever so slightly? Or
only one EJ.
Yeah,
only one EJ. No, I'm hoping that the no's are legitimate no's, and
Yeah.
there's more, people putting their hand up saying, I'm desperate to get involved. And full house, absolutely charging into the AFL season. I really do think it'll be great.
What do you think the club's support will be like? We spoke to Andrew Russell, who you've done a great job with in the studio all year. He said he would hate it if it was his player and releasing them. That there's going to be some pushback, do you think, or not?
I asked the coaches all the time through 360 through the course this year in ad breaks, and there was all support. Of course, some of it was a bit qualified. Fags openly said, "Look, I'm behind it, but I'm not sure about the timing of it in February." But the concerns about players and losing players, I understand, but none of them are better than Ablett. None of them are better than more important than Lockett or Greg Williams, and they all put their hands up and played on a Tuesday in the middle of the year. So sometimes we as a code need to have these occasions where we celebrate the game. We've got an opposition code who do that so well. We need to get together and say, hey, for the good of footy and to continue to support footy. There's only one premier, but these great players that we've got to be able to have an opportunity to play on a big, big stage. And State of Origin footy is a big, big stage.
Yeah, and Kane and his All-Australian selection committee have given you the nominal captain, I'd imagine. Like Jeremy Cameron is just a walk-up captain.
Far beat me for me to argue with that esteemed panel.
Have you got any names locked in at this stage? Have some come? I imagine some have already.
Yeah, they'll be announced, I reckon, in the coming, because there's a strong promotional element to this as well. The West Australian Tourism Board is strongly involved in this, so we want to start promoting it and pumping it out. So there will be some names announced in the coming weeks.
So you mentioned the little nuggets, and I love that. I love the Brent Harvey story. Dad was coaching South Australia that day, and he just was shaking his head. Who is this Brent Harvey running right on the MCG? Harley Reid. This game is going to be played in Perth. There is no more popular player in Perth than Harley Reid. He's a Victorian. You're going to have to pick him.
Well, don't tell me who I have to pick.
They'll come for you if you don't.
Well, in all honesty, and we have not sat down together, but he's the sort of player that would. Can you imagine how much he would benefit from walking into that 4-day camp and training and preparing and sitting at breakfast and talking to the best players in the competition? It would be the best thing that ever happened to him. So, without preempting anything, I could see how that would be a great thing for Harley and the game and the promotion of the game.
Well, it is definitely the most anticipated representative match, the return of. It's Saturday, the 14th of February next year. It's at Optus Stadium in Perth. And your opposite number, we should point out for WA, is the Eagles champion, Glenn
I know, he rang me the other day. So I coached him in the international rules. He played as a goalkeeper. There's never been a more crazed man when it comes to representative footy, and he's already picking fights over there in Western Australia with us. So.
But he would acknowledge he's got a far narrower pool than what you would have.
Well, that's what he'd be.
You are blessed.
He rang me to say how arrogant we were and how up ourselves we were. So there'll be some nice banter and some good build-up, and let's look at the bigger picture here. This is footy on the grand stage.
And you've called it. You've already got. It's like a prize fighter. You've called out SA next.
Well, I'm not getting ahead of ourselves, but I want to win. I want us to win well, and then I want to pick a fight with Corn and his mob.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that just the strength of the South Australians at the moment just couldn't compete.
Your third cab off the rank at the moment, so don't get
exactly.
ahead of yourselves.
Well, that's fair, and I think they've nailed this. They've put it in the right state. They're going to get fully behind it. I was sceptical, but the more I think about it, we're going to be craving footy in February, and to see the best go at it, I'm kind of excited now as well.
Nice, I like it. Good on you, boys,
right.
And let's
Thanks, guys.
Finish strongly. I've been listening in from about 8:45 when I get up. It's been very good.
You're a liar. I don't think you've even listened to that. Amy, AFL Origin, it's Saturday, 14th of February, Optus Stadium in Perth. We can't wait for it, Gary. Go well.
Thank you, boys. Great to talk to you.